my third grade year, and I do think that I started my third grade year off at my dad's again, but again, did not spend much time there, which I think kind of upset my stepsister. I loved her so much, and I loved the time that I could be with her, but I also felt a calling to be with my mom and my mom's family too. So it was really confusing for me as a kid. But I do remember being at my mom's, and I remember at the school that I was going to, I would walk across the street. There was a McDonald's, and a busy intersection was the street, and I would walk across there. I remember introducing myself to the class like I was a new kid, so I remember that. And my third grade year was a little crazy. It was kind of a whole lot. But I remember one time my mom was moving. We were preparing to move to Utah, and my stepdad and my brother went ahead and went to Utah. And the reason why we were moving to Utah is because my mother had failed a drug test in the Air Force, and she was getting discharged from the Air Force. And so my stepdad had a sister who, I'd had previous interactions with her son before. But, and we were moving to Utah because we were able to be there with his sister. My mother, I remember whenever it was like, okay, they're leaving, and I was like, oh, cool, so I can sleep in your bed. And she was just like, no, not at all. And I was just like, okay, I don't see why not. And then she's like, well, we'll make a pallet next to the floor. And so that night, I remember, I was just an innocent kid, and I was in school, and I had projects and stuff, and I decided to write this story, and I was writing this story, and I was coloring it and watching TV that night, and just, I was so proud of my story that I'd wrote, a little book that I had made, and with folded paper, and I'd colored it, and I wrote a story with it. I don't even remember what the story was now. And then, yeah, I went to bed next to my mom's bed, and I heard my mom having sex. I didn't know that's what I heard, but I heard it, and she said, "You're so much better than my stepdad's babe." Ooh, it was weird. I didn't understand what was going on. And the next morning, I woke up before her, and I guess he was already gone. But woke up before her, and I just got up and made some cereal, and I looked on the coffee table, and there was my book with coffee all over it, and it broke my heart. It broke my heart because I really, I don't know, it was one of my creations. So, and I think our creations come from our heart, and it felt like my creation was just destroyed, and it was just getting off, getting off of its feet, like it's just beginning. It was just a baby. But and so I'm sitting there watching TV, and my dog, well, we got this dog because, like, it got hit in the street where we live, like right next to where we live. We brought it in, and we were nursing it, and it was a lot better. And this dog he was licking a condom, and I didn't know what a condom was. I didn't know what it was. I was like, "What do you have? What is that?" And I picked it up, my little kid self, and I was so confused, and I had to figure out what this thing was. And somehow I started watching MTV, and MTV started talking about condoms, and I was like, okay, so I need to figure out what's a condom, what, because MTV's talking about it, so I guess it's something the teenagers do. I don't know. It was just, it's a memory that it just sticks out in my head, and, I was 7, 8 years old whenever this happened. I guess I was 7 because I was going to be 8 on my birthday. This was before my birthday. This was in the fall, and my birthday's in the winter, so really crazy stuff. So we end up, then we start packing up everything. I never said anything to my mom, but we just started packing everything up, and we head out to Utah, and that was a crazy trip. It really was, for my little kid self. Went on forever, and we ended up getting snowed in. A blizzard came through, and we had to get a hotel room, which was exciting for me. I've always loved hotel rooms, but we had fish that we had in the car with us, and a dog, and we had to have these dog and fish in there while there's a blizzard going on. And we head out to Utah, and I start school in Utah, and it was a whole different experience. That school was way different. They didn't have walls. It was like you walk into an auditorium, like a huge auditorium, because it's a huge building, but it's like no walls. And there was cubicles everywhere type thing, but bigger classroom cubicles. So very interesting was that school. And I learned a lot of cool stuff. I made friends, and that's where I learned Chinese jump rope. I learned to play marbles. I learned, the foursquare. So I remember a lot of recess things from third grade. But I also remember walking to and from school, because I would walk to school in certain areas. The road, the sidewalk had been plowed, so the sidewalk was a tunnel through plowed snow. So I just loved that I would walk through a tunnel of plowed snow every morning to get to school. And my stepdad became a car dealer, and I guess he was making good money, because we ended up getting an apartment, and we were living pretty good. And he got a motorcycle, which really made my mom mad. He would drive me to school on his motorcycle, which made me so happy, and I felt so cool getting off the motorcycle to go to school. I do remember one time walking home in Utah, because there was two routes that I could take. I could take the snow tunnel route, or I could take the back route where I would go through fences, hop fences, and kind of go through a library. You can go through a library, and then you go through the back of the library, and you hop that fence, and then you're on the sidewalk to the apartments. And I remember one time I took that route, and some boys that were just a little bit older than me. I'm just a little 7-8-year-old girl, and they're like 10, 11, 12, and they really think that there's something, and they have like their hand in their pocket, and they're like trying to act like they're mugging me. And I was just like, psh, whatever, go on, try to mug me. I remember how that sticks out, and they were just like, aren't you scared? And I was like, of you? No, I don't know. I remember that. And also, walking back and forth from school, I really remember in Utah, because that's whenever all of the voices in my head, I really began to give them names. And so I had Tara, and I had Jesus. Jesus was always there with me. And there's no reason to not talk to Jesus, because he's there and he'll talk. And whenever I was at my grandparents at church, I'd go through Bible school and everything, and there was this song that would always play, and well, not always, but there's like 2-3 songs that they would always play at the end, like for the invitation at the end to come to the altar and get saved. But and one of those that would really stand out, like for my grandma, she loved the Old Rugged Cross. She was like, I love the Old Rugged Cross. But for me, it was For Those Tears I Died. And it's just, it would send chills up my spine. And I knew that's why Jesus was here, and that's why Jesus was with me. And I always felt protected, like, with Jesus and my relationship with Jesus. So that's part of why I wasn't that scared, because he was there, and Tara was there, and it was just like, yeah, these boys think they're something, don't they?
you know?
And one time I was walking home and I met this girl who was just a little bit older than me, and she was outside with a balloon filling it with flour. And I'm just like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm filling it up with flour. It makes it really cool." I was like, "That is so cool." And so, yeah, I she ended up being my friend. I would go over to her house after school often and then go home. At the apartments, there's this little boy like right at my age and a little girl right under my age. She couldn't play all the time, but I would play with her and this little boy. We and him would play all the time, rough and tumble. I would skate around the apartment complex and he would, skateboard. I would roller skate and he would skateboard. And I remember one time there was this big, huge pine tree and he dared me to climb this big, huge pine tree. And I was just like, why not, And so I just went up and I climbed it. And I remember being at the tip and it's like doing this. And like, my stepdad got home off work and saw me and he freaked out. He was like, "Get down now." I was just like, "Okay." And I just came down, looking back, I'm like, oh gosh, I probably really scared them. But yeah. And also, my mom and stepdad began keeping all their change and all their pennies in these big jars. And so there was a pet store right by our apartment and I wanted a bunny. So I convinced my brother to help me and we gathered up all these pennies. we put them in little baggies for like $10 each, I think, baggie, like huge baggies. And we put them in a wagon and took them to the pet store and bought a bunny. And when my parents got home, they were so angry at us for buying a bunny. So we took the bunny back, but we were able to convince them to get us a guinea pig. So we got a guinea pig, and that was, yeah. So I remember getting a guinea pig, and I remember that Christmas too, because that was the Christmas that I wanted a baby alive. I wanted a baby alive more than anything in the world because all I wanted to do was be a mommy, and I just wanted to practice being a mommy now. And I loved the baby alive because it was so like a real baby. You could eat, you'd feed it, and it would poo, so you'd change its diaper. You had to really keep it clean. But once I finally got one, I did not get one that Christmas, and I was so disappointed. So disappointed. So I remember being disappointed that year. It's a disappointing year. But once I did finally get one, it's not like a baby at all. You like have to drown the baby to keep it clean. So real babies, you don't do that. But anyway, um, and then at the end of the summer, I found out that my dad was having babies. My dad and my stepmom are having babies, and they did it right. They're having girls. Oh, they're having two girls, and they were like asking me for baby names. And I remember sending them a letter. I was just like, I sent them a letter, tons of baby names, like, yay, you gave us a book of baby names, exactly where we were. But yeah, and I got to fly in an airplane. I got my wings and I flew in an airplane from Utah to Arkansas. My grandma got me off of the airplane. I had my baby doll. It wasn't my baby alive baby doll, but it was my baby doll. And I remember her name was Heidi. And because I love my little Heidi, I took her everywhere. And my grandma was like, she has her baby doll. I was like, yeah. And we went straight to the hospital to see my newborn baby sisters. And we went to the hospital to see my newborn baby sisters. And I wasn't able to see both of them because one of them was in intensive care, but I was able to see one, and the prayers began for the other one. And we were so excited, baby sisters. And yeah, so yeah, my sisters were born, and there you have it. It's my third grade year. Yay!